Welcome to Apple Story Channel, and today I am going to take you on a journey that might leave you speechless. I am Apple, your storyteller, and what you are about to hear are real facts about national dishes from around the world that are so unusual, so fascinating, that you might struggle to believe they are true. No fiction here, just reality served on a plate. Let's begin with one that always stuns people. In Iceland, there is a national dish called hakarl, which is fermented Greenland shark. What makes it shocking is that fresh Greenland shark is actually poisonous because of its high levels of urea and trimethylamine oxide. To make it edible, Icelanders bury it underground for weeks, sometimes months, letting it rot and ferment, then hang it to dry. The result is a dish with an ammonia-like smell so strong that even chefs like Gordon Ramsay have struggled to keep it down. Yet in Iceland, it is considered a symbol of tradition and endurance. Now, let's move to Italy. Everyone thinks of pizza and pasta, but there's a cheese that is banned in the European Union because of how it's made. It's called casu marzu, a Sardinian specialty. The name literally means rotten cheese. It is made by allowing cheese flies to lay eggs inside pecorino. When the larvae hatch, they start eating the cheese, breaking down the fats and giving it a creamy texture. The shocking part? The cheese is eaten with the live maggots still inside, wriggling as people spread it on bread. Locals say it tastes incredible, but it has been labeled unsafe by food authorities. Yet some Sardinians secretly keep the tradition alive. If you think that's surprising, wait until you hear about Japan. In Tokyo, you can find a dish called fugu, made from pufferfish. It is one of the most dangerous meals in the world because the fish contains tetrodotoxin, a poison that can paralyze and kill. Chefs need years of training and a government license to prepare it. Even then, every slice carries a thrill of danger. Some diners describe eating fugu as tasting the line between life and death, knowing a tiny mistake could be fatal. And here's the fact: every year in Japan, there are still reports of people dying after eating incorrectly prepared pufferfish. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, there is balut, a dish that leaves many foreigners in shock. Balut is a fertilized duck egg, usually containing a partially developed embryo, boiled and eaten whole. The experience is both cultural and emotional. People drink the broth inside, then eat the yolk and the embryo, feathers, bones, and all. For locals, it is considered a high-protein snack and even believed to be an aphrodisiac. For outsiders, it is one of the most extreme food challenges imaginable. But let's not forget Scotland, home of haggis. Many know it as sheep's stomach stuffed with oats, suet, and spices, but the twist lies in its history. The dish became so associated with Scotland's identity that when Scottish immigrants traveled abroad, they carried recipes of haggis with them, spreading it worldwide. Yet strangely enough, the United States banned the import of authentic haggis for decades because it contained sheep lung, which was considered unsafe. Even today, Scottish haggis in America is often only an imitation of the original. Then there is surströmming from Sweden, often called the smelliest food on earth. It's Baltic herring fermented for months, sometimes years, before being canned. The smell is so intense that many people open the cans outdoors to avoid filling their houses with the odor. Yet locals eat it with flatbread, potatoes, and onions, insisting that once you get past the stench, the flavor is extraordinary. Scientists even studied the smell and discovered it contains some of the most pungent sulfur compounds known in food. And in South Korea, there is a dish called sanachi, which consists of live octopus tentacles served still moving on the plate. Diners chew carefully because the suction cups can cling to the inside of the mouth or throat, creating a choking hazard. It is considered both a delicacy and a thrill-seeking experience. Locals describe it as fresh, chewy, and electric, almost like the sea still alive inside your mouth. The more you travel, the more you realize that food is not just about taste, it is about culture, courage, and sometimes shock. From poisonous fish to crawling cheese, every dish carries a story that connects people to their land, their history, and their identity. Would you like me to continue and reveal even stranger dishes and food traditions from around the globe that most people can hardly believe exist? Let's keep going, because the deeper we dive, the more unbelievable these national dishes become. Remember, I am Apple, and this is the Apple Story Channel, and every fact you are hearing is real, no imagination added, just the truth of what people actually eat around the world. Let's travel now to China, where one of the oldest delicacies is called century eggs, also known as 100-year eggs, though they are not actually that old. These eggs are preserved in a mixture of clay, ash, salt, and quicklime for weeks or even months until the yolk turns dark green or black and develops a creamy, almost cheese-like consistency, while the white becomes a translucent brown jelly. The flavor is strong, sulfurous, and sometimes compared to ammonia. To outsiders, they look like food from another planet, but in Chinese culture, they are considered a treasured delicacy, eaten with rice or congee. From there, let's shift to Peru, where guinea pig, known locally as cuy, is a national dish. To many in the world, guinea pigs are pets, yet in the Andes, they have been a source of protein for centuries. Roasted whole and often served on a plate with the head and teeth still intact, cuy is a festive meal and a cultural treasure. For the people of Peru and Ecuador, it represents history and survival in high-altitude regions where raising cattle was nearly impossible. Meanwhile, in Norway, there is a dish that shocks many travelers, lutefisk. It is made from dried whitefish that is soaked in lye, a chemical also used in soap making. After soaking, the fish becomes gelatinous, with a texture so unusual that some call it slippery or even slimy. Yet in Norwegian tradition, lutefisk is served proudly during Christmas feasts with potatoes, peas, and bacon. The fact that people willingly eat fish that has been essentially marinated in a caustic substance is enough to leave anyone stunned. Now, let me take you to Cambodia, where fried tarantulas are not just a snack, but a street food specialty. During the Khmer Rouge era, food was so scarce that people turned to whatever was available, including spiders. Over time, the dish transformed from survival food into a delicacy. Tarantulas are fried in garlic and oil until crispy, with the legs crunchy and the abdomen filled with a soft, sometimes gooey texture. Visitors often approach them with hesitation, but Cambodians see them as a proud part of their history of resilience. In Greenland, there is a dish called kiviak that almost sounds like a story from survival fiction, but it is real. Whole seabirds, usually auks, are stuffed into the hollowed-out body of a seal. The seal is then sewn shut and buried under rocks for several months to ferment. When opened, the birds are eaten raw, feathers and all. It is a traditional Inuit winter food, considered rich in vitamins during the dark months when hunting is difficult. Outsiders often react with shock, but for Greenlandic communities, it represents survival in one of the harshest climates on Earth. And if you thought cheese with maggots was strange, let's head to Vietnam, where snake wine is served. A whole venomous snake is placed into a bottle of rice wine and left to steep. The alcohol neutralizes the venom, and the drink is believed to have medicinal properties, boosting vitality and masculinity. For tourists, the sight of a cobra coiled in a bottle of liquor is unforgettable. For locals, it's an ancient tradition linked to health and strength. Let's not forget the Maasai people of Kenya and Tanzania, who drink fresh cow's blood mixed with milk. It may sound shocking, but this tradition is deeply tied to their culture and survival. The blood is taken directly from the animal without killing it, using a small nick in the jugular vein, then mixed with milk to create a protein-rich drink. It has been part of their diet for generations, especially important for warriors needing strength. And finally, there is a dish from Finland that often surprises travelers, salmiakki, a salty black licorice flavored with ammonium chloride. It's not meat or insects, but the taste is so bizarrely salty and medicinal that many foreigners gag on their first try. Yet for Finns, it's not just candy, it's a cultural pride, eaten from childhood into adulthood. The truth is, every one of these foods tells a deeper story than just shock value. They carry history, identity, and survival within every bite. What might seem unthinkable to one culture is a beloved tradition in another. Alright, let's go even further, because the more we travel through kitchens across the world, the more we discover dishes that almost sound like dares rather than meals. I'm still Apple, this is the Apple Story Channel, and every fact you hear is 100% real, no fiction. Let's begin in Sardinia again, but this time not with cheese. There exists a traditional dish called sucalo, which is cheese fermented inside the stomach of a baby goat. The milk curdles within the stomach, using natural enzymes, and is then eaten straight from the stomach pouch. For locals, it is a rare treat tied to shepherding traditions. For outsiders, the thought of dipping into an animal's stomach to scoop out cheese feels surreal. In the Faroe Islands, locals prepare a dish called skirpikjot, which is wind-dried mutton hung in sheds for months, sometimes over a year. The unique thing is that the meat is not salted, just left to ferment naturally in the cold, windy climate. The result is meat with a pungent flavor, described as gamey, cheesy, and unlike anything else. Tourists sometimes compare the smell to strong blue cheese or even ammonia, but for Faroese families, it is a cultural treasure eaten at celebrations. Now let's move to Indonesia, where people drink kopi luwak, better known as civet coffee. This is not just any coffee, it is made from beans that have been eaten and then excreted by a civet, a small animal similar to a cat. The beans pass through the animal's digestive system, and producers claim the process improves flavor and reduces bitterness. A cup of civet coffee can cost up to hundreds of dollars, making it one of the most expensive coffees in the world. Yet when people hear how it's produced, many cannot believe it's a luxury product. From there, let's head to Mexico, where Eskimos are known as insect caviar. They are ant larvae harvested from the roots of agave plants. The tiny white eggs are sautéed in butter or served with tortillas, and the taste is described as nutty and buttery. For the Aztecs, it was a prized dish, and today it is still considered high-end cuisine. The idea of eating insect eggs might sound shocking, but in Mexico, it is an ancient delicacy. In Alaska, there is a dish called akutak, often referred to as Eskimo ice cream. But don't imagine chocolate or vanilla, this is a mix of animal fat, fish, berries, and sometimes even reindeer tallow or seal oil. Traditionally, it provided essential calories for survival in freezing climates. Sweet, fatty, and savory all at once, it shows how cultures adapted food to their environment in ways that can feel almost unbelievable today. Let's not forget India, where one of the strangest and most shocking facts isn't about what they eat but how. In Varanasi, a holy city, there are yogis who eat food prepared on funeral pyres as part of spiritual practices, believing it connects them with the cycle of life and death. While not a common dish, it shows how food traditions can push boundaries of what we think is acceptable, blending survival, ritual, and belief. Then there is Thailand, where red ant egg soup is popular. The eggs and larvae of weaver ants are harvested and added to soup with chile, herbs, and vegetables. The flavor is said to be citrusy and sour, thanks to the ant's natural formic acid. For locals, it's refreshing and packed with protein, but for many visitors, just the sight of wriggling eggs in soup can be overwhelming. Finally, in Madagascar, there is a drink called rum with zebu penis. Yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. The organ of the zebu, a type of cattle, is infused in rum and consumed as an aphrodisiac. Locals insist it boosts vitality, while outsiders often struggle to believe this is actually consumed with pride. The more we peel back these stories, the clearer it becomes. National dishes are not just food, they are survival strategies, cultural codes, and shocking symbols of identity. What seems outrageous to one group is sacred to another, and that's what makes these facts impossible to stop listening to. Then let's dive even deeper, because the further we go, the more we find foods so shocking that they blur the line between curiosity, survival, and even danger. I am Apple, this is the Apple Story Channel, and I promise you, every fact I share is true, documented, and eaten by real people around the world. Let's start with Romania, where there is a soup called ciorba de burtă. At first it looks like any other comforting soup, but the main ingredient is beef tripe, the stomach lining of a cow. What makes it unique is that the chewy texture is balanced with garlic, vinegar, sour cream, and hot chili peppers. For Romanians, it is a beloved hangover cure. For many first-time visitors, the shock of eating stomach lining is unforgettable, especially when the chewy texture seems to fight back with every bite. In Japan, there is also a dish called shiakura, which is made from fermented seafood, often squid, preserved in its own viscera. The taste is salty, pungent, and extremely strong, so powerful that some say it takes a shot of whiskey to wash it down. Yet locals enjoy it as a snack with alcohol, saying it represents the raw essence of the sea. To outsiders, it is almost too intense to handle. Now, let's move to Laos, where a dish called larb sometimes includes raw animal blood. It's a minced meat salad, flavored with lime, fish sauce, and herbs, but in its most traditional form, fresh animal blood is added for richness. Health risks have led to warnings, yet in rural areas, this dish continues as a deep-rooted tradition. To eat something that fresh, that raw, shocks most people, but for locals, it is a symbol of authenticity. Over in Italy again, there is pagnotta, a dish from Rome made with the intestines of a milk-fed calf. What makes it unusual is that the intestines are cooked with the milk still inside, which curdles into a creamy sauce when the pasta is served. It's a dish so specific and so tied to tradition that many Romans call it a piece of their identity, even though outsiders may find it disturbing. In South America, Bolivia serves up something unusual called caldo de cardan, or bull penis soup. It is considered a health tonic, believed to restore energy and male strength. The organ is boiled for hours and served with vegetables and spices. For locals, it's a serious restorative dish. For visitors, it is a shocking reminder of how every part of an animal can become food when tradition demands it. Moving to France, the story of ortolan is infamous. This small songbird was considered a delicacy for centuries. Traditionally, it was captured, fattened, drowned in brandy, roasted whole, and eaten bones and all in a single bite. Diners would cover their heads with a napkin, partly to capture the aroma and partly, as some say, to hide their shame from God. The dish became so controversial that it was banned, but stories of secret ortolan feasts still circulate in France. Meanwhile, in West Africa, there is a traditional dish made with giant African land snails. These creatures can grow larger than a human hand, and they are cooked with spices, palm oil, and vegetables. The texture is chewy, almost rubbery, but they are rich in protein and minerals. For locals, it is everyday food. For outsiders, the sheer size of the snail alone is enough to leave jaws hanging open. And in Papua New Guinea, some tribes have historically practiced what's known as mumu, where entire animals, pigs, fish, or birds, are cooked in an underground pit lined with hot stones and banana leaves. While that alone is not shocking, the surprising fact is that in some areas, exotic animals like bats have been prepared this way, roasted whole. For tribes, it is tradition. For visitors, eating bat roasted in the earth can feel like stepping into a prehistoric past. These dishes aren't just meals, they are living histories, some tied to poverty and survival, others tied to ritual and belief, and still others to luxury and excess. And every time you think you've heard the strangest one, another comes along that pushes the limits of what food can be. Let's start with turtle soup in China and Southeast Asia. For centuries, turtle meat was considered a delicacy believed to bring strength and long life. But here's the shocking part, some versions were made from endangered species like the giant soft-shell turtle. Eating it was linked to status and tradition, yet it pushed certain turtle populations to the brink of extinction. Today, in many regions, serving real turtle soup is outlawed, but stories remain of secret feasts where it is still consumed. Then there's shark fin soup, once a symbol of wealth and honor in China. The fins are dried and added to soup, giving it a gelatinous texture. But the shocking truth is how the fins are obtained. Sharks are often caught, their fins sliced off, and the bodies thrown back into the ocean alive. This practice kills millions of sharks every year, devastating marine ecosystems. Many countries have banned it, but demand still fuels a hidden trade. In the United States, one of the strangest bans was on absinthe, the green spirit linked with hallucinations and madness. While technically a drink, not a dish, it was infamous in 19th century Europe as the muse of artists and poets. The ban lasted nearly a century before it was lifted, but during that time, absinthe was smuggled, whispered about, and consumed in secret. The shocking fact? Modern science shows it was never as dangerous as its legend suggested. Its outlaw status was more myth than reality. And speaking of bans, let's return to Italy's casumarzu, the maggot cheese. Officially outlawed by the European Union, it remains alive in Sardinian culture. Farmers make it in secret, selling it quietly at high prices to those who dare. Authorities say it's dangerous because of live parasites, but locals argue it's no riskier than sushi. The hidden trade continues, and eating it has become almost rebellious. Now, let's move to Japan again, where besides fugu, there is a dish known as basashi raw horse meat, thinly sliced and eaten like sashimi. It is served with soy sauce, ginger, and onions. To many cultures, eating horse is unthinkable, yet in Japan, it is an accepted delicacy. The shocking part? Horse meat is also eaten raw in parts of France and Italy, even though the very idea horrifies many outsiders. In Iceland, another dish that tests limits is svi, a boiled sheep's head served whole, eyes and all. It was born out of necessity when no part of the animal could be wasted. The head is split in half, the wool burned off, and then boiled. The eyes, lips, and tongue are considered delicacies. For Icelanders, it's tradition. For visitors, staring into the cooked face of an animal while eating it can be deeply unsettling. And in China, there's drunken shrimp, a dish where live freshwater shrimp are immersed in strong liquor and eaten while still moving. The alcohol stuns them, but they are swallowed alive. The shocking fact is that while some people see it as cruel, locals consider it a delicacy with a fresh, sweet taste. It's controversial, but it exists. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, Inuit communities once practiced eating muktuk whale skin and blubber raw or frozen. It is chewy, oily, and high in vitamin C, a vital nutrient in a land with no fruits or vegetables. While whaling is heavily restricted today, the dish survives in traditional communities. To outsiders, the idea of chewing whale fat is almost unthinkable, but for generations, it was life itself. And then there is a dish from South America known as monkey brains, tied to legends from parts of the Amazon and once rumored to be consumed in regions of Asia as well. Though often sensationalized, there are verified accounts of monkey meat being served in traditional feasts. The image of eating an animal so genetically close to humans is one of the most shocking in culinary history, leading many governments to outlaw it due to health and ethical concerns. Every one of these dishes carries more than flavor, they carry taboos, risks, and stories of survival or excess. They challenge what we think food should be, showing us that culture defines cuisine in ways that can either fascinate or horrify. Let's start in Korea with gaejangguk, or dog meat soup. For centuries, dog meat was eaten in Korea as a strengthening food, believed to boost stamina during hot summer days. The practice has faced huge controversy both inside and outside the country, and while it has been declining rapidly, it still exists in certain regions. The shocking fact is that despite international criticism, some older generations continue to defend it as cultural tradition, while younger Koreans often reject it outright. In Japan, there is a rare dish called koi no arai, which is raw carp that is sliced and served immediately after being killed, sometimes while the fish is still twitching. It's washed in cold water to tighten the flesh, and then eaten with miso or soy. The idea of eating something so fresh that it is almost alive leaves many outsiders stunned, but in Japan, it's considered an art of freshness. Let's move to Indonesia, where a controversial dish is bat soup. In some regions, fruit bats are boiled whole in broth, wings and all, and served as a delicacy. During certain disease outbreaks, like SARS or even COVID-19 rumors, bat consumption drew global attention. Yet in rural villages, it remains a tradition, tied to belief in its medicinal properties. The thought of slurping soup from a bowl where a bat stares back is something most visitors cannot forget. Now, in Madagascar, there is a dish known as zebu hump stew. The hump of the zebu cattle, filled with fat, is cooked slowly until gelatinous. It is prized as the richest part of the animal. For locals, it's comfort food. For outsiders, the fatty, jiggling hump meat is a shocking surprise, especially when it dominates the entire dish. In China, one of the most controversial dishes is baby mouse wine. It is exactly what it sounds like. Tiny, newborn mice are drowned in rice wine and left to ferment. The drink is believed by some to have medicinal properties, though it is rare and largely hidden. The very thought of swallowing a wine steeped with animals that never lived more than a day is enough to horrify almost anyone. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, aside from balut, there is a dish known as tamilok, or woodworm. These long, slimy creatures are actually mollusks found inside mangroves. They are eaten raw, dipped in vinegar, and have a flavor similar to oysters. The shock comes from their appearance: long, writhing, worm-like bodies that look more like nightmares than dinner. Yet for Palawan locals, it is a delicacy tied to the sea. In Scotland, there is a little-known traditional dish called crap pit hide, made by stuffing a fish's head, usually cod, with oats, suet, liver, and onions, then boiling it. It dates back to times of poverty when every part of the fish had to be used. Today, it's rarely eaten, but it still exists as a reminder of how necessity shaped shocking traditions. And then, perhaps one of the most unsettling traditions comes from Cambodia and Vietnam, where rice wine is sometimes infused with scorpions, centipedes, or geckos. The animals are placed whole into bottles and left to steep, similar to snake wine. People believe the drink boosts health and virility, though the sight of venomous creatures floating inside makes many visitors hesitate before even touching the glass. These dishes reveal a truth that can't be ignored: food is never just about taste. It is about history, survival, status, belief, and sometimes daring. The shocking part is not just what people eat, but why they eat it and how these traditions endure, even against the tide of global criticism. In Sardinia and Corsica, there is a dish called blood ravioli. Instead of cheese or meat fillings, the pasta is stuffed with pig's blood, herbs, and spices. When cut open, a dark, rich filling spills out. For locals, it is tied to using every part of the animal, but for outsiders, the shock of biting into pasta filled with blood instead of cheese is unforgettable. Now, let's move to Southeast Asia, where some rural areas still prepare frog sashimi. Frogs are skinned alive, cut, and served immediately, with the heart sometimes still beating. The belief is that it is the ultimate sign of freshness and vitality. While not common and banned in many places, the fact that it has existed and been documented is enough to disturb anyone. In China, another controversial food is donkey meat. It is eaten widely, but the shocking version is donkey penis, served as a stew or grilled. It is believed to enhance male strength, similar to other aphrodisiac dishes. Tourists often hear stories of entire restaurants dedicated to animal genitals, where everything from goat to donkey parts are served as prized specialties. Let's move north to Russia, where there is a dish called krovyanka, or blood sausage, made from pig's blood mixed with buckwheat or barley and stuffed into intestines. Though many countries have blood sausages, Russia's is particularly heavy and dark, eaten with sour cream or bread. For locals, it is comfort food. For newcomers, the idea of biting into a sausage oozing with blood is shocking. In Vietnam, there is another controversial dish known as snake heart shot. A live cobra is cut open in front of the diner, its still beating heart dropped into a glass of rice wine, and then swallowed immediately. It is considered the height of bravery and strength, but to most people around the world, it sounds closer to a horror ritual than dinner. In Mongolia, traditional nomadic diets include budog. This is goat or marmot cooked by sealing hot stones inside its stomach, causing the animal to cook from within. What shocks visitors is that the animal is often skinned and prepared whole, its body puffing up like a balloon as it cooks. Sometimes marmots are used, but that carries risk, since marmots can carry plague bacteria. Despite the danger, the tradition persists. Now, let's go to Iceland once again, where besides fermented shark, there is whale meat still eaten despite global outrage. It is served grilled or as steak. For Icelanders, it connects to centuries of survival, when the sea was the only source of food. For the outside world, eating whales feels taboo, even forbidden, yet it continues. In Italy's Tuscany region, there is a soup called zuppa di sanguinaccio, literally blood soup, made from pig's blood, chocolate, sugar, and spices. It was once a festive dish tied to carnival season. Imagine sweet dessert soup laced with animal blood, a combination so strange most people cannot even picture it, yet it is real history. And here is one of the most unsettling facts: in certain Amazonian tribes, there was once a tradition of drinking a fermented beverage made by chewing cassava root and spitting it into a communal pot, where it fermented into alcohol. The enzymes in saliva were what started the fermentation. Guests would drink it without hesitation. It wasn't just food, it was ritual, community, and survival. Every one of these dishes proves a simple, shocking truth: what seems horrifying in one culture is everyday food in another. And the more we uncover, the more it feels like food is the strangest mirror of humanity's survival, beliefs, and taboos. And so, we reach the end of this journey. I am Apple, and this was the Apple Story Channel, where we uncovered some of the most shocking, unbelievable, and fascinating facts about national dishes around the world. From poisonous fish to cheeses alive with maggots, from soups of blood to bottles filled with snakes, every plate carried a story far deeper than taste alone. It was about survival, identity, culture, and sometimes defiance against the impossible. What seems grotesque to one culture can be a symbol of pride in another. Food, more than anything else, shows us how far humanity has gone to adapt, to celebrate, and to hold on to tradition even when it shocks outsiders. That is why the story of these dishes is not just about eating, but about who we are as people. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. Until next time, this has been Apple from the Apple Story Channel, reminding you, the world of food is far stranger and more fascinating than you ever imagined.